Hello everyone, Don Veach here. Today what we're going to do is prepare a traditional artist's drawing surface. We're going to use Conte and charcoal. This is the end result that we're looking for. It's an even tone on a piece of Reeves BFK printmaking paper. The materials that we're going to use are Conte. We have black, sanguine, and burnt umber. We'll need a small pocket knife, a well-used chamois cloth, and once we get into the drawing we'll be needing charcoal pencils, a white, blacks of various degrees of hardness, some paper stumps. For erasing we will use a traditional number 2 pencil eraser and a kneadable eraser, and again our chamois cloth. So why don't we get started. This is one that I've already prepared, but I'm going to go over the steps with you right now. Okay, the first step is to prepare your surface. What I've done is I've pre-measured an 11 by 14 area, and what we're going to do is we're going to start with our sanguine Conte and our pocket knife. Now this thing's, I've been using this since I went away to college 20 plus years ago, so it's a little on the dull side, but basically what I do is I take the pocket knife and I want to scrape fine particles of the sanguine Conte onto my drawing surface. It's important that you burnish the tape down with your thumb so that none of the Conte gets underneath the tape, so when we pull it off we have a nice clean white line. It's very important for matting that you keep the surfaces as straight as possible, or the tape lines as straight as possible. Now once I've got a nice even distribution of Conte dust, I'll move on to my next step, and that's where the chamois cloth, as you can see, when you buy these they're very pale yellow, similar to the color of the tape. This has been used quite a bit, and what I do is I just smear around the Conte. I rub it into the surface. Now we're going to repeat this step a couple times. I won't bore you with that in the video. But as you can see, it doesn't take long to do one application. Right now what I have is somewhat streaky because it's the first application. And the older your chamois gets, the more it tends to shed. So what I might not be able to see it in the video, but I have a lot of pieces. It's similar to when you erase with a regular eraser, little pieces of the eraser come off. So I just brush it off with this cheap drafting brush. Now I have a couple of them. I have one when I'm doing regular drawing, I have one, and I use this one strictly for this type of drawing because the Conte will get on there and you don't want to have Conte smeared on your regular lead pencil drawing when you're doing that. Alright, so I'm going to put a few more applications, and when we get down to the nitty gritty I'll show you what you can do with this. I have gone through this and repeated the steps several times. In the exact order that I did them, I did one sanguine, one burnt umber, another sanguine, one light coat of black Conte, and then I finished up with 3 consecutive applications of sanguine. I have a very deep and rich color compared to our first one, which I will show you right now. Here's the original one, and the one we just created. You can see it's a little bit more rich, darker tones. This will be very important because I'm going to be doing a portrait, and I want it to have a classical feel. Alright, I've got my practice surface set up. I'm just going to give you a quick demonstration on what we can do and how versatile Reeves BFK with a tonal ground can be. Taking my medium vine charcoal, and I'm just going to draw a quick shade. I like to use vine charcoal for the drawing. Often I will prepare my drawing ahead of time and I'll just transfer it with some charcoal backed drawing paper and trace it back on. I usually do most of my drawings ahead of time. What I'm doing now is I'm laying in some subtle tones. I like to either use a paper stump or my fingers. As you can see, you can get pretty dirty in this. It's a lot of fun. If you like to get messy, this is a great way to draw. And I will now pull and push some of my highlights. I'm taking a kneaded eraser. And I'm pulling out lights to add depth to my sphere. Now, there's no worry, if you overdo it a little bit, you can always go in and put your tone back on. It's a really great way. It's almost like having undos on the computer. Now, one thing I like to do is add some tone in the media values. So I'm going in with my Sanguine Conte pencil. It just adds some richness instead of using just black and white. I mean, you went through all that effort to put the tone in the background. Why not enforce it throughout the rest of the drawing? It's the difference between a bland monochromatic piece and one that captures your interest. I'll rub it in. And I can go in with my charcoal pencil to sharpen up the edges. I don't like that one. There we go. This is the medium one. Try to stick with medium as much as possible until you're ready to finalize every aspect. If you start using the hard charcoal pencils, it roughens the paper up a bit. And so what I have here, my paper stump, and I'm going to soften up that edge a little bit. And before, when I was showing you the tools, I mentioned the number 2 pencil and how I like to use the eraser. And it gives me a nice clean edge. I can go in and I can take away as if I was drawing with white pencil. Now, I have a white pencil. I don't use it as much as I could because I don't feel that there's that much white in nature and the highlights, so I tend to use it just for like the reflections in eyes and maybe a little bit on the nose. So I'll show you what that does. So I've got a nice white line here, and I want to brighten it up a little bit more. And this pretty much brings me back to surface level white. It's not something I can't do with the actual erasers. I can do that. It just takes a little, it wears away the surface a little bit more. And when you use this white pencil, it tends to make it harder to go back to the even tone that you had when you used the chamois. So I try not to use this until near the end, until I'm absolutely certain that this is what I want to have. So yeah, it's a basic sphere, but it shows a lot more depth than what I could have done as quickly on just a regular white piece of paper. So putting this ground down really enhances the speed in which I'm able to draw and come up with. And now what I'm going to do is demonstrate how I can wipe this all away. Now you can see there's still a little bit of outline where I have used the charcoal pencil. So stick with the Vine charcoal when you're doing your drawings, because there's a nice dark line. That disappears pretty nicely. So I hope you understand the basic concepts of how we're doing this, and I appreciate you all watching, and I look forward to showing you the step-by-steps to doing the portrait.